What's up, guys? This is EB Tech here, and today we are going to be learning how to clean a computer. And we are actually in this fairly dirty workshop because, well, I don't work with the most cleanly of people. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty of what it is you will need to clean your computer. And this is a couple of assortment things that you will need for cleaning your computer. You will need a couple microfiber towels to wipe off any surfaces without leaving any residue. You will also need an assortment of screwdriver tips depending on what screws are in your case. It's best really just to have an assortment. It's also good to have some glass cleaner if you have tempered glass side panels. If not, well, you can actually just use this to spray on your rag and damp it a little bit in order to clean off your fans and other areas that the dust may not actually come off. It just spreads around. So just a little bit of moisture helps for that. And also, I would suggest some paper towels if you was looking at replacing your thermal paste for your CPU. But I would mainly suggest coffee filters because they leave back less residue, and I would not use these to clean anything around the motherboard except for thermal paste. And typically you will need some compressed air. I would recommend getting a series of 3, so that way whenever your bottle gets cold, you can just swap through them, and that way you can have one bottle using, one bottle cooling, and another bottle ready to go as you need it. But for today's video, we don't need that. We're going to be using heavy machinery. So maybe we won't break something while we're out of the business of trying to clean the computer. So wish me luck. So when we open up our computer, which is where we start, just remove your thumb screws. I would also recommend having a bowl, which we do not have at the moment. So we will place it on a towel. You can see there's not a whole lot because I've just cleaned it a couple months ago, but there's still a lot of dust buildup in here, especially along the fans right here and at the front. You can see, I don't know if the camera can show this, but there's a lot of dust just collected all through here. So, also, I should mention, if any dust gets in your power supply, it can disrupt your power supply and cause your computer to just completely stop working. I actually seen a video where anyone that had a power supply and they had a lot of dust in it, it would automatically keep tripping every time they turned the computer on because the dust became conductive and ended up just shorting out the power supply. So, also another reason to keep your computer clean. So, we will start by doing a quick dusting with the air compressor, and because it's about to get loud, I will just throw in some B-roll so you don't have to hear the air compressor roaring the entire time. So now we've at least got our rough dusting out of the way, we can take our microfiber cloth, and I wish I had more light, kind of like that. Just get in your case, wipe off all the residing dust. If you know you have enough room in the back of your case, you can pop these out. But I don't really have very much room. Now you can see just dust collecting on this drive. Just wipe this off. This is actually just my backup drive, just in case something goes wrong, then I can plug this in and still have another drive left. And I would suggest wiping off anything you can see around your power supply, just to prevent that shorting issue we talked about earlier. Now if you really wanted to, you can completely disassemble your computer, clean everything, then put it back together. But for the purposes of this video, I'm pretty sure most of you don't want to. So I'm just showing you what you can do while still keeping mostly everything in place. Which I just took my graphics card out. And so that's what I'm trying to do. So we'll just give the motherboard a little bit of a wipe. Just try to wipe off anything where dust can just build up and sit, like on these PCI slots. All right, now we've got that out of the way, we're going to move to our next step, which is taking the fans out of the case. We're going to remove them and completely wipe all their dust off. So to do that, we'll just use our screwdriver and we'll begin proceeding with taking out. I'm actually going to put my graphics card back in, and then we're going to take the fans out. Now that we've got at least one of our fans out, you can see it's supposed to be clear. It's not even close to being clear. So what I'm going to do is leave that hanging. I'm going to grab some of my cleaner. Where did I put the cleaner? And I'm just going to damp my rag just a little bit. Just so it's barely moist, but we don't want it actually wet to leave droplets on it. So we'll just go around the rim of the fan. Alright, so we at least got one of the fans done. Now, I'm not going to bore you with doing all of the fans. I'll pretty much keep with B-roll for this part. So, yeah, we'll continue on, and I'll be back in a minute. Alright, so now we are on our last fan. Something I want to draw attention to. Come on over here. You see these screws are longer than the ones we have been using before. Now this is something that people forget all the time. Make sure that you keep up with which screws go to what, or do what I do and do it in sections. If you get the wrong screw and then you put it in the wrong spot and then you can't figure out where other stuff goes, next thing you know your computer is broke. So we're going to finish cleaning up this fan, and then we're going to go back, talk about the final and what some people consider to be the most important depending on thermals and what kind of case you have. So we're going to finish cleaning this fan and then we'll continue on. Also, while I'm thinking about it, when you go to blow over your USB ports, do not blow into them, because if you blow into them, it will permanently lodge the dust that is already here. It will permanently lodge them into the USB port, and over time that will create connectivity issues, and then you'll end up just hating your computer and going to buy a new one, which is completely unnecessary, and nobody has that kind of money. Now that we have cleaned our fans, we have blown it out, we have dusted, now it's time for what people consider to be the most aggravating thing about building a PC. Well, it's not the worst I've ever seen in my life, because I haven't cable managed this thing in almost a year and a half. So yeah, we're going to see if we can maybe straighten up a couple of these SATA cables. I need to make sure I have a new one run because I have a new hard drive coming. And yeah, then we'll be done. We'll just see if we can cable manage this a little bit. Maybe with some luck and prayer. Also, while I'm thinking of it, any of you looking to build a new PC, I would recommend go ahead and spend the $100 on a case. You do not want to have to deal with all this cable management issues, because I have no grommets here or at the top or at the bottom, because these fan headers get on my nerves and I have nowhere to put them except to try and run them through this other hole that they're not meant to go into. I almost forgot to tell you, if you're doing cable management, these are your best friends on earth, because you would hate to be doing cable management and have nothing to tie these cables down with. Also, wire cutters, because I didn't have them before, so I couldn't clip all this off. So we've at least made it somewhat okay. We'll give this one final dusting at the back to be sure. Also, anything that is any more than slightly damp, do not touch it to the motherboard. You will possibly fry one of your PCB circuits. Or who knows? I've heard of people even shorting out an HDMI port just because they touched something the wrong way. Computers are funny like that. They like no one. They pick no favorites. They take no sides. And then crush their souls one by one. Also, while you have your case side panels off, just because they can accumulate some dust throughout here, I don't know if you can see it, but just a little bit of dust, so, you know, wipe it off while you got everything out. Excuse my dents. I accidentally dropped my computer. This is another reason I say invest in a good case. Because if you don't invest in a good case, you have cables sticking out farther than the side panel. And most cases will give you at least a good ½ an inch in depth. This baby gives me a ¼ of an inch. So it's a little harder to fit my side panel on than most cases. I did this entire thing and I realized something. I forgot to clean the CPU fan. So depending on your cooler, typically, most of them just pop right off, except for other CPU coolers. Intel, I'm talking to you. So, we have this nice little CPU cooler from a Hyper 212 Evo. We're just gonna give it a little wipe down while we're still inside the case. Now, if you have a stock heatsink, whether it's Intel or the AMD Wrath coolers, with those you have to completely take off the heatsink. At that point, you might as well reapply your thermal paste while you're at it, using a good thermal compound and using either coffee filters or microfiber to remove the thermal paste. But I would suggest not using paper towels if you can avoid it. It will work, but I would not suggest it. And also use some rubbing alcohol, not beer, like rubbing alcohol. And before you put your front side panel back on, if this is glass, clean it with glass cleaner. If it's not, and it's plastic, well, just rub it down with something moist and hope it works. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and if you like the video, leave a like. If you have any issues with it, drop a comment. I know some will. So if you like the content, stick around. I'm going to be doing more reviews and PC cleaning stuff and things dealing with the computers. So yeah, it's going to be a good time to be had. So I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace!